and then we'll talk a bit more. We'll talk a bit more about Unleash Plus specifically. We will be recording the session, so if anyone needs to view this afterwards, you're very welcome to do it. So I will now share my screen. So a few words about Unleash. What is Unleash, first of all? So Unleash is a global initiative committed to bringing some of the world's top talents together to share ideas, build networks, and create solutions to help reach the Sustainable Development Goals. Ultimately, our mission is to empower and unite passionate youth and work with partners from all around the world to help to generate and grow solutions in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Every year, we've been uniting about 1,000 people in different locations around the world. And we also host innovation labs and local hackathons, which are focused on solving local problems with local communities. And what you're joining here today is the info session of our Unleash Plus program, where we help teams to develop their ideas into real solutions and then help them accelerate them until they can be fully launched. We've been recognized as one of the leading brands for sustainability in the world, and we'll tell you a bit more about our results in a few seconds. Our values are very important to us, and there's 5 main values. The first and overarching value is that we're impact driven. We really want to make sure that we have impact towards the SDGs in all that we do. I just want to check something. Arielle, can you see this Zoom thing here at the top of the screen?
Nope, just the core values.
Fantastic. So first value, impact driven. The second is that we're inclusive. In all the programs that we run, we really aim to provide equal access opportunities for everyone. When we run our main program, which is uniting 1,000 people from all around the world, we provide scholarships. So people can join from anywhere, regardless of where they're coming from or what socioeconomic background they have, and they're able to access the programs. We're positive. We see the SDGs not as something daunting, but rather as an exciting opportunity to engage many, many people from all around the world and to make the world, if possible, a better place for all. We're evolving and essentially constantly finding ways of rethinking what we're doing, coming up with new programs and ways of also adapting those programs to the people that we work with and making sure that we're an organization that's always relevant to the talents we support, but also the partners we work with. And lastly, we're amplifying. We recognize that the people we work with have unlimited talent. And I think every person joining the call today also has unlimited potential. And we really want to make sure that we can amplify your efforts, your voices, and your solutions as much as possible. So what do? We have 6 main programs that we run. The first is the Innovation Lab that you see on the top left of the slide here. This is a very, very large event where 1,000 people from all around the world come together for about a week to form teams and build new solutions to address the Sustainable Development Goals. Underneath that, we have the Unleash Hacks. We also have the coordinator and the lead of the Unleash Hacks on the call, Maria. And essentially the Unleash Hacks are local hackathons. So they're 2 days where teams come together of young people and they build also new solutions to address local sustainability problems. It's a more compact version of the bigger event that I previously mentioned. Unleash Plus is a program, it's an incubator. That means that we accelerate ideas into real solutions and we provide many resources, access to mentors, tools, and finally a boot camp, which is an event where the participants actually access potential funding and really work more intensely with experts. We'll talk about this a bit later. On the top right of the slide, you see the Unleash Facilitator training. So we train facilitators. So these are people that are able to help other people to come up with solutions. So we teach them how to use innovation techniques, design thinking techniques to launch new solutions. The community is part of what we do, and it's also who we are. We're a very large community of over 4,000 people from all around the world, and we have an online platform where everyone can meet can support each other, find opportunities, and also events that they can attend to meet other like-minded people. And finally, we have the Unleash Circle, which is a project that we're still developing, but the idea here really is to find ways of connecting really, really amazing talent with their solutions to investors. So providing ways of getting funding for the teams that have amazing solutions. So we spoke about the methodology. I spoke about the facilitated training that we do, where we train people to use our methodology. And it really goes through 5 phases. From left to right, we first go through problem framing. So what we do is we help the teams that we work with to really make sure that they're clear on the problem that they're addressing. So who is affected by it? What is their needs? And really, what is the insight that the teams have so that they can then build a solution that really solves a problem? The second is ideation. And ideation is this moment where people come up with lots of ideas to solve that problem, and then finally decide which is the best one that they want to go forward with. Prototyping is the third phase, and this is where teams move from this idea, which is a bit of an abstract concept so far, and actually start building something. And we'll talk about it later in this presentation, but prototyping is quite broad, and there's many ways to prototype, and that doesn't necessarily need to be a specific type, but the main goal is really to start testing the idea, or at least making a representation of the idea that can be tested. So we spoke about testing a little bit. That's the 4th phase. And this is the idea of taking this prototype and getting people to start use it and understand, is it really working? Do the clients want it? Do the users or the people that will use it need it? And potentially will people pay for it? And lastly, the implementing phase is really how can you move from this prototype that's now been tested to something that starts to reach people, enter the market, if that's what you're doing, and start to really make an impact. So I want to note here that in the Unleash Plus program, we're really focusing on these 3 pieces of the methodology, where we're helping teams with a prototype to move into more testing and really prepare for implementation until they can, by the end of the program, fully launch their solution. So the 3 parts on the right of the slide are the ones that we'll be focusing on in Unleash Plus. Just a very quick overview of some of the impact we've had to date. I'll just highlight a few numbers. So we've got about 700 solutions that have come out of the programs we run over the last 4 years. We've got over 300 partners that we've worked with directly, but we've got over 1,500 partners that also help us to get in touch with the people also joining us here today, all the participants. And we've had over 4,000 talents join our programs to date from over 167 countries. So I think we're really truly global and want to ensure that we can provide opportunities for people all around the world. I'll now pass it over to Arielle, who will talk a little bit about Chemonics, who is our lead scale partner and with whom we've had the immense pleasure of working with over the last 2 years now. Arielle, over to you.
Thank you so much, Greg, and thank you again for the wonderful overview of the program. Chemonics is thrilled to have had the opportunity to come in and become the lead scale partner for Unleash these last few years, and in particular to help launch and support the Unleash Plus program so closely. For those of you who do not know Chemonics, we are a global international development firm. We implement projects all over the world. We've worked in over 150 countries over the last 46 years, and we really specialize in every single area of the SDGs. So we're very excited to be bringing that experience and expertise to the program and to all of the elements of Unleash. And very excited to be here with you today to talk a little bit more about the Unleash Plus program, which is extra special to us and is hopefully why all of you are joining today. So as we've said, it is co-hosted with Chemonics and is one of the programs that has come out of the Unleash family of programs to really help support teams and individuals that are launching solutions that are aligned with the SDGs. So we run it as a 6-month incubation program that really focuses on bringing those solutions forward from prototyping into implementation and hopefully into scale. The entire program is really focused on building the capacity of social entrepreneurs to support them in their efforts to do this and give them the tools, the skills, and the resources to support that journey. We do this through a really tailored curriculum of a lot of the key areas that are important in launching a solution and running a business. We have interactive workshops. We have opportunities to practice pitching, and we have an excellent event at the end that's a lot of fun, very intense, and gives a chance to have more access to world-class expertise. We bring in experts from all over the world in many different topical areas to support teams in this journey. And we facilitate connections to different funders, partners, capacity builders throughout the program. And in particular, at that event at the end, there's that opportunity to actually then pitch for potential grant funding and in-kind support. So the structure for the 2021 timeline, this visual here gives you a sense of where we're at right now. So on that far left, we're finishing up our hacks. So many of you might be joining from the hacks programs that we've mentioned before. Some of you might have seen on social media that we have been running these for the last few months. And now we're going to be going into the application phase. So right now, our Unleash Plus program is already open. The applications will be available until July 25th. And the session today is to really give you all a sense of what it's all about. And once the applications close, we'll be doing that review, and we'll be getting in touch with folks by August to let you know whether or not you've been accepted into the program. And from there, we kick off the program with 2 days split over 2 different Saturdays, where we really have a high energy, exciting program planned for you, where we're going to introduce you to Unleash Plus, really work with teams to define those priorities and develop a roadmap that will lead you through the rest of the program this year. And we're going to talk about completing a diagnosis, where you're going to establish what are the core needs of the team and where do you want to prioritize through the program to maximize your opportunity in that 6 months. From there, we'll go into the 21 weeks of the core online program, which has a very significant emphasis on a virtual learning program. This will be done so that it's as accessible to as many teams and individuals as possible. We recognize that people are still working other jobs. You might be splitting your time between many things, as many entrepreneurs and social impact leaders do. And so we really want the program to be accessible to you to fit into your day, no matter where you are in the world. So in this, we're going to go over many of the core technical areas, but the entire focus is to ensure that you can get from prototype to implementation of your solution, that you're going to build team effectiveness and have a strong group together that you're working through so that you all will be able to launch and scale your solution. You're going to focus on the strategy for your solution and what you're intending to do, and then how are you going to communicate what you are doing and who you're doing it with, and then what types of needs or support you might be looking for as you go in to learn about pitching and working with partners. And then, as I briefly mentioned earlier, there will be a final event in February of 2022, where we have a sort of a boot camp style, where over 4 days, we bring in those world-class experts that are going to be leading some of the training throughout the program. And they're really going to be working with teams one-on-one in direct consultations to help you refine your strategy and your approach. And at the end, everyone has a chance to compete, to pitch in the final Dragon's Den, where there will be funders and partners that have committed support or grant funding, and the top teams will get a chance to compete for that. So it's a very exciting program we've got planned for you. It's a lot of fun, very high energy. You'll learn a lot, and it's going to be an excellent experience. So we hope that this will be interesting to many of you. And with that, we're so delighted to have a wonderful group of panelists from our Unleash Plus 2020 program to talk to you a bit more about their experiences participating last year. And with that, I'm actually going to ask all of our panelists to introduce themselves one by one, give you a little bit of context for who they are and where they're coming from. Then we'll kick off into a couple of questions with each of them, and then we'll have a short Q&A directly with the panelists before we go into a deeper dive into the program. So, Sahitya, I can turn it over to you first.
Sure. Thank you, Arielle. I hope you can hear me. Super. Very excited to be here and chat with you all. I'm Sahitya from India. I'm representing Inquilab Foundation. We are a nonprofit that works on building problem-solving capacities in children. Just like Unleashed, we strongly believe that children too have the power to solve problems. And we're sort of running a mini Unleashed for children. Yeah, very excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Emily?
Hi, everybody. My name is Emily Okalau. I am the CEO and co-founder of Tumutu Pest Management. We are a company that creates an all-natural pest management solution. It's a spray essentially that farmers can use on their crops or anybody really, and it's made from 5 plants and 1 other all-natural ingredient. Yeah, I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you so much. And last but certainly not least, Justine.
Thank you. Hello. My name is Justin Nabuga, based in Kenya, Nairobi at the moment. And I'm the co-founder of the Kobora company. What we do, we manufacturing solar cooking boilers. And we are targeting schools which are really struggling to provide energy and food for their students. And I'm so happy to reconnect again.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for being here. And in case I did not fully explain this, all 3 teams that are here represented today actually made it into our final Dragon's Den event. They were all part of the top 10 teams that advanced throughout the program. So we're very excited to have them share a bit more about how they went through the program, what they did to maximize the opportunity and the experience. And so to kick it off, I think maybe we can go backwards this time, Justine, to Emily, to Sahithya. And if you all can maybe kick this off by talking a little bit more about what motivated you to join Unleashed Plus last year. And then how did the program help you in your journey of taking your solution to that next step, wherever you were when you started, combined to where you are now? Justin, we can go to you first.
Thank you. I think for us, the biggest motivation for applying for the program was to look for help to pilot off and commercialize actually. Because as I said, with our innovation, it's very different in the sense of technicality and the cost. So being able to manufacture these mass cooking stoves requires a lot of expertise all around the business case. And for us, we had a lot of challenges in terms of testing this solution to the customers, and even finding a way, business case, a way we can be able to introduce this as a business to customers and scale it up. I think for us, that was the biggest motivation. And for sure, the program, which was quite long enough to give us a time for us to digest the literature and to give us time to be able to put to practice what we learned. For me, I think that was the most exciting thing. So we're able to go through a process from the videos and the input from the trainers and experts, but also even time to go there in the field and test exactly what we learned. I think for us, that was the most interesting process in this journey.
Oh, thank you. Emily?
Yeah, so, what motivated me and, and the rest of my team to participate is that we had all participated in Unleash. We all knew each other for the exception of one person in Shenzhen, and we all really enjoyed that experience. And, it's such a great learning experience. And I had experience with this product that we now produce, and it was something that I had known about for quite some time, for quite a few years, but wasn't really doing a whole lot with it. It was just something that it was a product that I knew and that I had, but that hadn't fully developed into something that could be extended, I think, similar to Justine. And so Unleashed Plus really gave me the platform to understand what the value is of this product, and what the value could be, and how that value could extend out, not just to users, not just to people who would purchase it, but also to people who would participate in its production, to people who could help us to develop it, and how that would transfer sort of this concept of, of true development and of livelihood development would transfer through quite a few groups of people. right? It would sort of ripple through while remaining a product that was desirable to people who would want to use it. And so that's, that's definitely something that I learned and that we all learned, was the value of our products and what that means, right? And how important it is to assign value to something.
Excellent, thank you. Sahiti?
So I think our motivation was definitely the feedback and recommendation that we got from one of our co-founders who had previously attended Unleash events. We were also at the right space, like what Greg had shared in terms of the 3 steps, right, from prototyping. We were also, as a company, at the right space to be able to take full advantage of the space in which Unleash was sort of training us. In terms of value, I would strongly say that we got more than what we had come in with. And something that really surprised me was the piece on the team itself, the team dynamics. We had a chance to attend with 6 of us on Unleash, and the virtual program itself was pleasantly very, very well designed, considering it was virtual. And we did get a lot of benefit in terms of understanding team dynamics and understanding the specific aspects that make a team successful, certain things in culture that we necessarily didn't fully focus on as a company, right? In terms of where we are at right now, I think something that you will learn in Unleash is something they have called the diagnostic tool, where you sort of put yourself on multiple, it's a rubric. You sort of measure yourself on multiple things, from impact, team, to problem and solution. That has been something that we still continue to use to measure ourselves and measure our growth. And we're aiming to scale high on that particular scale as we move forward. And we got a lot of inputs in Unleash to be able to reach that kind of improvement. Yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for sharing that. That's great to hear all of these different elements. And I guess we've touched on this a little bit, but I'm curious if you all might be able to dig in a little bit more to specific parts of the program or experiences that you had that were particularly beneficial or maybe special to you and your team. And whoever wants to go first, feel free to jump in.
Sure. I think for us, what it was really beneficial was, I would quote 3 things, right? One was definitely the mentor sessions, where we got that one-on-one time with experts, literally world-class experts, where we got feedback on certain parts like our business model itself to make our program more sustainable. And also the marketing, go-to-market strategy session that we had, in terms of being able to articulate what we're trying to do in a very crisp and succinct manner. The Dragon's Den was super interesting for us, because leading up to it, we had pitched so many times in our practice groups with our facilitators and in the final event. And that is something that we continue to use. Our pitch deck, whatever we had sort of created for that, is something we continue to use even up to now. There's certain aspects that we benefited from even post the program with Chemonics, but maybe that's something that I will touch upon after Justine and Emily jump in. Yeah.
I would say that some of our best moments, or some of my favorite moments, is when we were working through. We were sort of forced to work through the work that's required with Unleash, and so we're sitting there as a team, and we're working through it. And there were these moments when someone would say, well, I don't really understand this, or this part bothers me, right? This part it doesn't make sense to me. And then we would sit as a team and really, really figure it out. And, that very much taught us to work together and to find a way to express ourselves differently, because we are all from, different countries and different cultures. And so, we had to learn to do that. We had to learn to express ourselves differently, and to really sort of to weed out what we were saying. And those were definitely some great moments. And like Sahithya said, the sessions with the mentors and the world-class experts, we just all feel like we learned so much, and we learned so much not only about our own solution, but we also learned so much just that's been transferred into the rest of our lives, even in some cases in our personal lives. And so it's just been great. It's just been an unbelievable learning experience, even if at times it was kind of painful. It's all just been incredibly rewarding to be able to learn so much. And the music also is a highlight always of Unleash, right? Both in person and also virtual. The opportunity to put some music on and have a dance party is always great.
For sure, Emily, I do agree with you on that. And there was some dances we had. I think for us, basically, many times, most of us founders or social founders, like our case, for example, we didn't really think clearly on the business model, in terms of how able to make money to run sustainably. So for us, what really stood out for us is how we're able to dig deeper with our mentor and the materials to do the following things. Number one, to be able to design a business, because being on an hardware manufacturer, so we learned how to deal with our suppliers, how to optimize our manufacturing process, how to be able to do these stuff in a very easy way, using locally available materials to ensure we cut down those costs. So that was one of the best things, because we were struggling so much with the price and the manufacturing aspect of it. And then number two was the finance side, because most of us are afraid to sell our products or put value to our products of our hard sweat and money. So for us, we learned we want to value ourselves and what we're offering. Although we are such a business, we still bring value to the table. So going through that phase of digesting the numbers and how much we spend, how much we go through in terms of manufacturing, how much we go through the sales process, till after sales service, we discovered we can charge more in a very smart way without pushing off the client, at the same time make more money to allow us to expand faster. So for us, that was the most sort of an eye-opener. And then lastly, in the process, our mentor kept on pushing us to have a long-term view. Whatever we do, can you have a long-term view? What's your scale process? What's your thoughts in the next 5 years? Do you have a plan for that? If you don't have, what kind of plan do you think you guys can have? So having these probe questions coming from the mentor and from the program itself, I think for us was an eye-opener for us to be able to not only create solutions, but create long-lasting, scalable solutions. I think for us, those were the most forthcoming things for our business with the process.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for sharing. And I love hearing this. During the program, sometimes things are so busy that we don't always even hear quite the feedback. And now that you've all had I think maybe 6 months or so since the program is officially ended, it's great to hear how you're continuing to reflect on this and how it's still impacting the work that you all are doing. So I know this is a little bit of a different one, but real quickly, might I just ask about the value that you all saw or the experiences that you had from a peer-to-peer standpoint? I think all of your teams were really wonderful about actually getting out there and meeting other teams and taking advantage of that opportunity for solutions and teams from different industries, sectors, focus areas, and around the world. Can you talk a little bit about what that was like to meet other teams working towards impact solutions? And maybe Emily, I could go to you, or Justin, go right ahead.
Sure, yeah, I can start. To begin with, it's just fun. To me, it's just really fun, to meet people from different parts of the world who are doing different things and who are doing, really, really innovative things, right? They've come up with these really great ideas. For me, just because I'm a curious person and intellectually curious too, it's just really great to be able to have access to people who are doing, doing these things that you never even thought of in areas, in places in the world that you never thought that this was a need, or specifically that it actually fits in really well. And to also think about how your solution, like how our solution actually is a solution that can work with other solutions. So a really good friend of mine is working on, working with coffee farmers in Kenya. And our solution fits in perfectly with that. And so we are, we always keep it in the back of our minds that this is something that we're going to work on. We're going to work on expanding to Kenya so that we can work with her, and her team. But that's sort of that's the really fun part of it. And then on the other side, it's also critical, when you're struggling a little bit, or you have questions, or you don't know how to move forward, or it just feels like, you're sort of at the end of a marathon and you don't want to keep going. It's really great to have fresh ideas from not just your own team, but from people outside of your team, especially if you're spending a lot of hours with your own team. It's good to be able to go to someone else and, get a completely different perspective. Maybe you need to talk about some conflicts, not that we had any, but it's always positive, right, to be able to work with other people, and you're only going to improve your solution, you're only going to improve yourself if you get different perspectives. And Unleashed does a really good job of promoting that, right? There is a literal competition, but it's also, there's no competition in the steps leading up to it. And if you can embrace that and you can work with people and not see them as, people that you need to stomp all over so that you can come out on top, it's really rewarding. And that's how I see it.
Maybe I can jump in also to add on what Emily said. I think for us in our group, since it was meant as an Unleashed Plus activity, so peer-to-peer was a way of relaxing around, like a break from the burden of activity, because we could have casual conversations, So for it was more of a break. And I remember with our team, we had to divide ourselves into different teams. So we're not able to go to the same team at the same time. So that really helped us to talk to more teams at the same time. Also, I'll meet new people, as Emily said. And at the same time for us, it was a way also of trying to know who's also is in the same sector as we are, to learn on their challenges, to also learn from them how they've been able to fundraise or pilot the ideas, how are they able to do their works in a lean and mean way. So talking to fellow peers was a good way for us to be able to know their businesses, now they're dealing with their challenges, their opportunities, learn how they are able to get their partners and their clients. So basically it was like a way of learning from somebody, although from a different sector, but at the same time, trying to be able to learn from them and motivate yourself to do more because they're at least doing something at the same time.
Yeah, so for us, I think adding on to your points in terms of one, I think for our team, it's purely just was awesome for us to see on how differently different teams operate, how differently they may voice their idea, the kind of questions they ask with the perspectives that we may not have necessarily thought about. And things like that come in when we do our workshops, where we do have, our breakout rooms where we interact with other teams. They come in when we are pitching, where your peers are giving you feedback on your pitch. I remember very specifically 321 helping us craft our pitch much better. We don't understand this slide. Can you change this? And we got very sharp feedback from them, right? And they also have a structure of where peers give you feedback on your final solution plan, your deliverable as well. So it is very much meant to be peer connects. But one strong value add that we got was purely on crafting our USP, right? When we were talking about things that are different about our solution, we got feedback like, hey, but this is something we do see pretty often in our country. We do have a program like this, but this particular point, your peer teaching model is what is your main USP, right? So to be able to see how we are positioned when we look at our solution on a global scale is something that we were able to get from while we spoke to our peers. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I really appreciate all of you sharing that, and that's great to hear that was so beneficial. So in the interest of time, I'm going to ask, as we close up here, if each of you is able to share perhaps either final words of wisdom or maybe advice with everyone joining today that might be thinking about joining the program. So any final closing words that you'd like to say? And Sahithya, we can start with you and then work our way back around.
Sure, definitely. So I definitely believe that for any such opportunity, it is required for us to very clearly know why we're doing it, and by the end of it, where we'd like to be. And I think Unleash at the very beginning helps you set that benchmark, right? Because they sort of give you that rubric to say, right now as a team, you are here, and by the end of it, you can potentially get here. And I think that's something for us to have that roadmap, because they have a roadmap in mind for us, and for us to be putting in that commitment to sort of grow on all these scales that they have is something that's very valuable to do. There's so many opportunities in terms of peer interactions, mentors. The more you ask, the more you get from Unleash. So that's something that would be good to keep in mind. Yeah, thank you.
So for me, one piece of advice I would give is to treat it like a job. And I mean that sort of in all the positive and, also all of the challenges. So Unleash, especially Unleash Plus, is a lot of work and it takes up a lot of time, which is great because it's really rewarding. But I recommend, that you stay disciplined and, work on a schedule and really, understand what the so for us, they gave us the schedule ahead of time. And so I put everything into my Google Calendar. Everything was earmarked. I knew at what time I would be busy, when I had to show up to things, and not just, in the beginning, but also looking forward towards the end, especially, the boot camp, so that I really was able to organize my time and my resources to be able to participate in everything. And then also, like a job, there are moments, when you do things that you don't necessarily understand in the moment, or you don't understand why you're doing it. And some things are going to be less relevant to your team, depending on your solution. That's just the nature of it. And that's okay. And I just recommend that you participate anyway, because you will learn something undoubtedly. You will learn something about your solution, even if it's that, this particular aspect of something doesn't apply at all to your solution, then at least you'll know that. And, it's just, again, the new perspective. It's, again, understanding something about your solution in a different way. You might learn something about other people's solutions, that can be helpful too, not even just for your particular solution, but also to the rest of your life. And so, I just recommend showing up, participating fully, being all in, and really understanding what that commitment means, and then having fun, of course, on top of that.
Yeah, I do agree with you. And I think for me, I will highly recommend the program, because before the program, we just had a prototype, but now today we have been able to not only go to the market, address the first customer niche, which is the schools, but also now in the second customer niche, which is the hospitals, because of the pandemic, as you might know. And I think for me, I'll just maybe use what worked for our team, maybe to share maybe what might work for your team also. I think for us, what we did, we took it intentional to make this process personal, in the sense that each person had a task to do, or a role to do. And then, for example, like the Potentialit. So we took it more personal than a team activity, because if you grow as a person, it means each person of a team grows as a person, then the team is growing actually. So we took it more as a personal way to grow myself as a person. And then once in a week, we could meet up as a team and we share to ensure we all of us are growing as a team. So take it personal for your own personal growth before the team growth, because if you don't grow, your team can't grow, ideally. Then number two for us was we took it as a process. As Emily said, it's very tedious. If you take the job for us, we take it as a process. So it's from step one to step two. Now process sometimes can go back and forth. It's okay. It's part of the process. And so when you do the process, rather than as a competition or a program, you might benefit more from it, because that gives you an open mind or perspective diving into the course. So take it as a process moving forward. And then thirdly is partnership. I remember we had a lot of engagement partners, peers. Most people are busy, so please do take a personal incentive to follow up. So ideally be proactive to your mentors, anybody shows up, request from the email. And Unleash Plus was quite helpful, giving us contacts if you ask from them. So be proactive and you might be able to meet your next partner or potential customer. Lastly, talk to your teams, your peers. Please feel free to talk to anybody from another country. You can learn their culture. If you can learn about what they do, at least know their names, know their culture, know something good about their city, So that makes the fun part of it and gives you the drive to keep on with the process. Otherwise, it was very exciting for us to be part of the process.
Thank you all so much. Really, really a warm thank you for being here today, and a round of applause for sharing all of these excellent ideas and suggestions and all of your feedback. I hope that this has been helpful for everyone joining, and really grateful for you all making the time today. We're going to hold questions until the end just to ensure that we have time to get through, but thank you again so much for being here, and congratulations on the success of all of your solutions and your teams.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll turn it back over to you, Greg.
Thank you very much, Arielle, and thank you so much, everyone. It's just really, really inspiring to hear from all three of you, Sahitya, Justine, and Emily. Also to hear that the program was really valuable to you, and just generally great to see you all smiley and doing well. So thank you all again for the time. Really appreciate it hugely. We'll now move on to looking at who can actually participate in the program. So a few of you have been asking in the chat how you can apply and what you need to apply with. And so we'll share a bit about that right now. So who can participate in the program? So we welcome innovators from all around the world. And we have here 5 main criteria. The first is that the team needs to have at least 2 members. So you need to already be a team and not just a single person. This is also to ensure that when you are developing your solution, you're approaching it as an organization and not just as a sort of side gig. The second point is to have a tested prototype of a solution. We will discuss this a bit more in a few minutes. Don't be too worried about it. The main point is that you are not just having an idea in your mind about something, but that you've actually started to develop it and you started to do something with it, where if it's a digital solution, you know what it might look like and how people might use it. If it's a hardware solution, you started to figure out how people or how you could build it and how the interactions would work. But we'll talk about this more in a few minutes. The third point is documented feedback or references and testimonials. This is just to demonstrate, to show that you have got some feedback already about the prototype that you've built. So this means that you've done a survey, you've asked people what they think about their solution, or you've asked some people if they would be willing to buy it, and they've given you a letter of intent or something like that. So it's just showing that you actually have built something, even if it's very early. The fourth point is ability to commit at least 4 hours per team per week for the program. We say at least because at times it could be a little bit more than this, but you should really only apply if you do have the ability to make this time. It will be maybe after your work hours or after your study hours, or it will be extra hours in your schedule, and you need to be able to use those, I think, as the 3 panelists just said, if you want to make the best of the program. And lastly, we would require that the teams applying have less than $50,000 raised to date. And this is actually because we want to support early teams with prototypes. And we're not looking here to support teams that are already very developed and really starting to significantly grow their solution. So this is why it's a limit that you should have less than 50,000 to date. So those are just the requirements to apply. And there might be some questions coming over in the chat, but feel free to let us know. We will have some time for Q&A in a few minutes. What you will be learning more specifically, mainly these 6 elements. So the first is what we call lean project management. If you haven't heard about lean yet, don't worry, or just Google it. You can just check what lean management means, or lean startup. I'm putting these in the chat for you in Google. But essentially, we're going to teach you how to actually manage your project. How do you set timelines? How do you set milestones? How do you define goals? And then how do you try and meet those? Of course, knowing that you're an innovation, and so things might change quite a lot. The second one here is team. So how will you build an organization? And how will you make sure that your team really works well together? We're talking about potential life here on the slide. I'll talk about it in a second. We have a partner that usually provides this program to senior people in very large companies around the world, but they're providing it here to you, participants, to actually work together on yourselves as leaders, but also as a team on how you can work better together. The third point is around impact. And if this T is falling off, it's just because we want to make sure that you're paying attention to it. The impact measurement piece is really understanding how you will measure your impact. So because we're working here with the Sustainable Development Goals, it's important that you know how to measure your impact and to be able to showcase that in a really good way. The fourth one is go-to-market branding and storytelling. So how will you get your solution to market? How will you get people to know about you, to potentially start using your solution and grow? The fifth one is designing solutions for scale. So how can you already start thinking about scale now, even while you're understanding what you're building? Because you might one day really want to ensure that the solution is big and can really change the lives of lots of people. The sixth one is finance and fundraising, making sure you understand your budgets, that you understand how you're going to make money or where your money will go, and how to prepare to raise money if that is useful for you, to get other people to give you the money. Mentioned this, and I'll be very brief about it, but we have a world-class leadership training with an organization called Potentialit, and it'll essentially help you understand your core strengths. So each person on this call today has different strengths. So understanding what your strengths are and how to best use these. Works on health, how you can keep healthy. Absorption is all about how you understand what you're doing and how you can really learn a lot and well. Relationships is about how to create the strong bonds and relationships around you to ensure that you're happy, well, but also that you can do good work on your solution. And purpose, this is really how you can ensure that you're getting a deep sense of meaning from the work that you're doing. And this program will be inside the Unleash Plus program and really ensuring that you can become the best possible leader that you can be. I'll pass over to Arielle just to discuss some of the people that were with us previously and their roles in the program.
Excellent. Thank you, Greg. So you've heard us mention, and you heard in the wonderful panel, that we have world-class experts that we bring into the program. They help to guide the virtual training program that we've mentioned. They bring all of their expertise and that knowledge to help share in each of our critical areas that Greg has just gone over. They also support with one-on-one consultations. So you heard the panelists talking about getting that opportunity to engage directly with these individuals and help inform their solution development. So this is just an example of some of the experts who have joined us in the past years. Some of them come back again this year, but we're always bringing in new and more experts to help really ensure that we're meeting the needs of teams and able to provide you all who will participate in the program with that expertise to guide you and support you in that journey and help your solution become the best that it can be. So the experts play one really strong role in the program, and we also supplement the program with support from mentors. So as you've maybe seen, if you've participated in other Unleash programs, we usually have facilitators that help guide you on your journey or facilitate the methodology and process. And for Unleash Plus, as you're growing and launching a solution, we provide this access to mentorship, to have someone or a team of individuals that you can access to help support you, to answer questions, to guide you through some of those challenging roadblocks, or to help you understand perhaps some of the curriculum or material. These are kind of your go-to trusted people in the program to support you. And we're very lucky to have such wonderful individuals with world-class expertise, and many of them are entrepreneurs themselves or Unleash alumni that are returning to support. So this is also another benefit of the program that you have access to complement throughout that 6-month journey. And then back over to you, Greg, to talk about what is a prototype.
Thanks, Arielle. So we just wanted to show you a few slides or some images on prototypes. We're not going to spend too much time here because we want to have time for your questions. But it's just to say that there's different types of prototypes that you can develop, and it can be for software, it can be for hardware, it can be for programs. I saw some people in the chat were saying that they're running capacity building programs or training programs, and you can also prototype these. So for example, you can have what is called here a works-like prototype. It's essentially to show how your prototype works. So you might have on the left side for software, so maybe you're making an app for smartphones. You can't see it because of my background. But you might want to just show what the different parts of your app or your platform will be. If you're doing hardware, you might want to show how your hardware solution is gathering data, or how it's sending data to another microcomputer, and how it's working together. And even on the right here, what we show you is for a capacity building program. Here's a very simple agenda, but you could also show what you're actually planning in your workshop or in your training programs for people. Another type of workshop that you can do, another type of prototype that you can do is what is called a looks like prototype. So it's different from the first one, and you can do either, but this one is really to show what it looks like. So on the left, you see it's a much more beautiful way of showing the app. So it's less about how it's working, but more about what it looks like. Same with the hardware solution in the middle. You might just want to show that it's a solar panel based solution for agriculture, and this is what it would look like, even if you don't know yet how it works, but you know what you want it to be. And on the right, this is just an image for a capacity building program. You might want to just show the type of energy, the type of interactions you would have in a training program. And lastly, is what we call a made-like prototype. And on the left, this is quite specific for software. And in fact, this is a hardware and software solution together. But it's just to show that you might want to explain to people, if you are making an app for a phone or you're making something online, what are the different coding languages that you're using? If you're not doing the software, you're doing hardware, it might be showing how the schematics or the design of how you're going to make your hardware solution. And here again, if you're doing a capacity building program, a training program, it's also just illustrating how you're going to build it, how you're going to launch it, and so on. And this is just a screenshot of one of our programs and how we organize Gantt charts, so a way of planning what we're going to do. I'm just quickly seeing in the chat here. So you may have not tested the app as it being complete, but what you could do, so sorry, there's a question in the chat from Aishwarya, who's saying that if you had a looks like app, but you can't test it yet because it hasn't been developed, how valid is it? What you can do is already show what it looks like to 10, 20, 50 people and get them to interact with it and ask them questions. You know, was the interaction useful? Would you use this tool? You know, how easy was it to use? How valuable do you think the solution is? So it's already starting to get some feedback, even if it's something that is not completed yet, but it's something that you can already test and get people to give you feedback on. Hope that's clear. A few resources, and I recommend that you take a screenshot of this if you want to find some useful tools for prototyping. But there's a few tools that are either free or have a free version or a trial version for different types of prototyping. So if you're doing digital, like apps and platforms, these can be very useful. In hardware, these will cost a little bit of money, but they're also built to be quite cheap. These Raspberry Pis, or what's called Adafruits, which help in hardware. If you're running a program, you might just want to have something like Monday or Trello or different programs that help you to plan what you're doing. Or in general, these kind of tools can help you. Google Drive, Video Ask, which helps you get feedback from people in a video, or Typeform, which is a very beautiful type of survey. Don't worry, you don't need to use any of these. These are just helpful in case you want to develop something. They could be useful to you, but you do not need to use any of these. And the main point is that you can show that you built something and that you've started to test it and get feedback. So we'll stop there now. We've got some time here for questions. As we said, the whole session has been recorded and we will share it to the email that you registered with. But you're welcome to ask more questions now and we'll do our best to help. So feel free to either write your question in the chat or just ask directly by unmuting yourself.
Hello, good afternoon from Ghana. It's afternoon.
Hi.
My name is Arielle Kakari, and I was part of the just ended Unleash program. My team came third, and then I was very glad from all what I learned from that. My question is for the Unleash Plus. Should we be of the same team, or perhaps from the knowledge I got from the Unleash projects, I've come up with different ideas on some things to do. Can I create my own group to sign up, or do I still have to come up with the same group again?
Arielle, do you want to go?
Thank you so much for that question. You're open to join the program or apply with your own group. So you're welcome to apply with your Hacks group if you so choose, but you're more than welcome to apply with a new team and a completely new solution. So it's completely up to you. And that's true of anyone. You're welcome to join as long as you meet the criteria that the solution has some impact on the Sustainable Development Goals, that you're under that $50,000 mark, and you have at least 2 people that will join the team that you're applying with.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. I see Frank has a hand raised.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. Unleash team. I'm called Frank Kamgisha, and I'm joining you live from Kampala, Uganda. I have one question. I joined a little bit late, so I was wondering whether Uganda qualifies to apply for this Unleash program. Just a question. Thank you very much.
Hi, Frank. Yes, absolutely. I'm a great fan, actually, of Kampala. I had ate the Rolexes on the street. These are delicious wraps. But yes, anyways, you can apply from anywhere in the world. It's a completely global program.
Thank you.
Evelyn, we see you have a hand raised as well.
Hi, I'm Evelyn and I'm from Zambia. So I just wanted to clarify, since we're applying as a team, does it mean that each team member has to send an application, or we just have to send once?
Thank you for the question. It's a good one. So when you do the application, you'll see that you can, in the same application, add up to 4 team members. And if you have more than 4, you can send those to us later if you're accepted. So it's all in the same form, and you only need to do 1. We've got a few questions in the chat. So one is, what would make an application stand out, Karima? A few things. I think one is showing that you actually understand the problem that you're solving and that your solution really solves it. Another one is that you actually have some kind of prototype. Again, it doesn't have to be fully developed, but that whatever you're designing as a solution, you've already done some testing with it. Basic testing. It can just be surveys to your friends, to family, or whatever, but just showing that you're actually testing it. And then putting that in a visual way for us. If you look in the application form, there's a place where you can upload your documents. Being visual about it, or at least just showing it in a good way would help. This is a program that looks at SDG related solutions, Sustainable Development Goals. So it's good to show that you can make an impact. And then just showcase how your team will help on the solution developing. We have a question, can I be part of 2 applying teams? We require that you only apply in 1 team. But I would say here, if you're not the leader in that team and you're a secondary in another team, the problem is you can't be part of 2 teams at the same time in the program. So you would have to choose 1. We wouldn't allow you to be in the program at the same time in 2 teams. That doesn't work. Arielle, do you want to answer some other questions there?
So I think you touched on this, Greg, but I see, can a single team member do the registration? Yes, 1 person can fill out the application form. You just want to be sure that you're collecting the appropriate information for your other team members. So even if there are 2 or 3 of you and you're going to fill it out, just make sure that you're able to collect the required information for each member so that we're able to see that you have more than 2 or more members applying. And then I see can the same team apply for 2 innovations? So as Greg just mentioned, only 1 team or an individual would be able to go through the program with 1 solution at a time. So we do recommend that a team would apply for 1 particular innovation that you feel very strongly about and that you would want to move forward. And that would be the preferred option for you to apply in that way. Do we have any other questions? I don't see any other hands raised, but we're happy to answer more in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand. I've also posted the application form in the chat in case that's helpful, and Greg just shared our email address if you have questions.
I just had one question that came through privately. How do you recommend us to find or get together with our prospective group? Is it better if we are all in the same place geographically? We don't actually have requirements for you to be in the same place at all. You can apply with people from around the world. The main point is that you are actually a team and that you are building your solution together. Then we've had teams that have had members all around the world. It can be easier to be in a similar location, but we've also seen teams work very well with team members from different countries together.
Can I ask a question here?
Sure. I think we'll just take maybe two more, but yeah, go ahead and then we'll have to wrap up. So please go ahead.
I had a two-parter, so I don't want to take up both the questions. But the thing was, we go through the forms, and in the end we download the form, right? So you send a link of a form, of a Google form, and then you fill those out, and in the end you download the form. Is that how it works?
You can submit it. So when you finish the form, it will say submit, and we will receive it. So you don't need to download it.
Okay, and the other thing is, if you've not raised money, but for example, if you had a grant like we had with Chemonics US Aid grant, do you include that in the 50,000?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But just a reminder here, so you do not need to have raised any money at all. If you have not raised anything, that's fine. We're just saying that if you've raised more than 50,000, you cannot apply. But if you've raised less than 50,000, including zero, that you can apply.
No, I think we've not crossed the 50,000 mark, but we have a grant. So in the form, we put that in, right? We convert that into US and then we put that in.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then I'll just quickly respond to Mobeen. Congratulations on the hack in Pakistan. You're more than welcome to still move forward with your solution on good governance. Anyone who is joining from a hack team, if you are working with your team and you're passionate about your solution and you would like to take it to the next level, you're more than welcome to apply with that.
All right, brilliant. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for your time. We hope this was valuable. Great to see some familiar faces and people who have previously participated in the hacks. Boakai, great to have you here as well. I know that you mentioned you were part of the Liberia hack. I can see your cameras on there. Justine again, Sahitya, Emily, thank you so much for joining. We hope this was valuable. Do feel free to reach us on our email, so plus@unleash.org. We shared it above, we can share it again now. There's all the information on the website if you need it. And thank you very much. Arielle, any last comment?
Just another thank you for being here today. We're so happy to see you all, and really please check out the website, check out the application, and if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We're excited to review them all and excited for another year of Unleash Plus. So thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.